I'm going to start with a new mythology. The story of our evolution still lives in the depth of our psyche and thus will emerge again. The divine force that our earliest ancestors represented as this Venus emerges from the cosmos to show us where we came from, our source, and how to connect to that as we move forward. It was dark where she came from. The darkness was the foundation. The pull of the light was strong. She knew who she was. She was us. From the primal fire, the flames of Gaia, we were born. The fire within and the fire without were the first elements we harnessed in our creative revolution. The journey was beginning. In this abundant and beautiful world, we found a playground for us to learn and grow. Nature was both friend and foe, and in our expansion, we developed abilities of manipulation and creation with amazing speed and agility. Our new day had dawned. The fertile earth was our guide and teacher. The sky above was a source of endless wonder and imagination. Hovering between these worlds, we honed our skills to feel and imagine. Our internal world could be represented and expressed externally in symbols we could all recognize. We had created art. The shamans were our liaisons between the unseen and the manifested. They introduced a rich vocabulary of symbols to show us the fundamental nature of reality and our place in this expanding universe. The wondrousness of our creations still remain a mystery, as does our potential. Through stillness, some can feel that energy that inspired us and unites us, transcending time and space. The call to gather is growing in circles of awakening souls. The internal and the external worlds are so complex now that even the heartbeat of the earth is changing. Be still and listen. The story of our continued expansion and evolution is working to emerge through you. My name's Raissa Bailey, and I'm an artist focused on human evolution and consciousness. And this curiosity, this pull, led me down a road to explore some of the earliest images that we created as a species. And in this journey, I was guided by sources like the I Ching and different spiritual practices of meditation and stillness and listening. And through that journey, I was reconnected with the Venus of Holofels, which is one of the earliest forms of art known to our species. When we first had our creative revolution that marked Homo sapiens as unique amongst the other Homo genus that had come before us, we created, through the female form, life. And in our need to preserve ourselves, we needed to preserve the female form through the act of giving birth. We had large heads, we had narrow hips, and giving birth became one of the most dangerous things we could do. For us to be here as a species, women needed to face death. And so it's believed that one of the earliest forms of art is the Venus of Holofels, 35 to 40,000 BC. Recently discussed as a tool for a midwife to help in the act of childbirth, to make sure that both woman and child survived. And it is our survival that I think we're still talking about here today in terms of our evolution. The world is so complex and so crazy, we can all feel it. But I think that pull to continue to expand and to evolve, knowing ourselves, knowing our source, is what inspires me as I look at doing this work. So you'll see here some of the story that I told. You'll see some images of replicas of the Venus. I went through, what's interesting about the Venus is that throughout the Paleolithic Ice Age region, which goes down from Spain all the way up to Russia, at this time, with no communication and limited travel, these Venuses popped up in the hundreds. To me, this speaks to our collective unconscious, the collective energy that was inspiring us all. National Geographic did a spread on this a few years ago that suggests that the earliest artists were women, and they were sculpting these Venuses as an act of good fortune or a wish for good fortune, a request for good fortune in the act of childbirth. With no faces, no arms or legs, but the very distinguished and distorted breast, stomach, thighs, and exposed vulva of a woman who knows she's about to give birth. These Venuses popped up in the hundreds. To me, they speak to another thing that I find very inspiring, which is any form of ancient wisdom. So the I Ching is one that I draw from. It's ancient Chinese. And they work in hexagrams, symbols of broken and unbroken lines. And if you look at the water symbol in the I Ching, it's a broken, solid, broken line, which for me represented an abstraction of the Venus, the female form. That even from, classic arts sprung from the water, as we look at Greek mythology and what this Venus, this female form represents. And if you go through Jungian psychology, a lot of the symbolism of water is our subconscious. So I call this series the Venus Rising because I believe that this energy of the feminine is coming back. She's rising in us. We can feel her. You will see her. If you pay attention, if you are still, she's there. She's never left us. And it is that energy that is going to guide us continually forward into a greater understanding of ourselves and our connection to this world, this place that we have been gifted with. To honor it is to honor her. To honor her is to honor us all. And so thank you for your time. And if you have any questions.
So, Miss Bailey, where do you see your journey going next?
I'm going to be guided. I really do trust this process. This wasn't necessarily what I start off thinking I was going to do. I'm a painter historically, and then I got into sculpting these replicas, and then I photographed them, and then I told a mythology. So at this point, I really do believe that the journey is unfolding, and I'm just gonna pay attention and listen. I do believe it'll be more Venuses. I like the idea of textile. I mean, being here in Miami, as you can all attest to, the inspiration from art and new forms and new ways of expression are endless. So I look forward to seeing what comes next.
Thank you.
Thank you.